Hello and welcome back to the Great Lakes Truck Series presented by Patty Engineering. This week we're at the track Too Tough to Tame, the Lady in Black. We're here at Darlington for the Too Tough to Tame 200 here in Darlington, South Carolina, and I'm joined in the booth by Alex. Alex, how you doing?
We're doing great. We're in the booth this time. Yeah.
Alex is joining me up in the booth tonight. Well, we got some drivers down on the racetrack that are usually up in the booth. I know Gavin's down there and Elliott Henderson. They're going to try to have a good race for us tonight for the Great Lakes Truck Series. Should be a lot of fun. Going to talk about some points real quick coming into tonight. If you look at the display on your screen, we have a couple guys already locked into the playoffs. You have Hunter Madalinas, Michael Sensi, Daniel Nanny, and Jake Miller already locked in to the playoffs. Michael Sensi currently your regular season points leader by 7 points over William Barbagelata, and you see that bubble is really close. You have Matthew Durr only 8 points above the bubble, Hunter Brittle 7 points above the bubble, Ashton Lawson only 3, Aaron Duclos 3 points out, Nicewanger 6 points out, really close, and still a couple races to win before we get to the playoffs, Alex.
Yeah, as we grow closer to these playoffs, it's going to get more and more stressful for these guys, but we do have some interesting ones on the leaderboard, notably Circuit of the Americas, which a lot of guys don't have a lot of road course experience, Hockenheim, which is a real wild card, and Pocono, which essentially is a plate race, but with corners that are slightly more difficult than normal.
As you take a look at the schedule, a couple more races left until we get to the playoffs. The playoffs start in week 16 at Michigan. That cutoff race is week 15 at Chicagoland. And I love Chicagoland, personally. I love racing there. I love watching the track. So that should be a lot of fun. We have a couple of road courses in between. So it should be a fun end of the regular season here as we enter the second half of the regular season this week.
I'm very prepared for some very good action as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. But what we're going to be looking at tonight is Darlington Raceway, which some would call this a bit of a wild card track because not everybody's good at it. This is a bit of a difficult track for a lot of guys. Some guys kind of pick it up immediately, other guys struggle with it a lot. But the one thing you got to note is that guys who are up front in qualifying may not be the ones up front midway through this race, as no matter how fast you are in qualifying doesn't mean how quick you are in the race, as this track will eat up tires like nothing.
That's a great point, Alex. This track is all about tires. As the drivers begin to take off, we're going to give you our starting lineup. Starting on the pole, leaving just where he left off last week. Last week's winner, Jake Miller, starts on pole today. And then on his outside is Daniel Nanny in the number 30.
In the second row, we got Mr. Excitement William Barbagelata starting in third, and Steve McLean starting as outside in fourth.
Row number 3 on the inside in the number 97 machine, you have Aaron Duclos, and on the outside in that Terry Labonte throwback in the number 37. I mean, not the number 37, number 45, Steven Sims. I got mixed up for a second there.
Starting in the row behind them, we got the 42, Brendan Barkuski running a Juan Pablo Montoya throwback, and Matthew Durr on his outside.
In the next row, we have Shane Nicewanger down low, and on his outside will actually be Matthew Durr because the inside has moved up a lane because William Barbagelata has disconnected from the server.
Well, that's highly unfortunate, but behind them we got DJ Stagner and Hunter Madalinas, who should have started 11th and 12th.
The new on the inside of that row will be Tyrell Baker. In the next row, we have Ty Aiken and Ross Brockman.
And behind them is Jordan Gonzalez and Eric Kepf.
Next up, we have Nick Hansen in the 62 and Michael Sensi, your points leader, in the 92.
Hunter Brittle in the 10 will follow them, with Corey Stevens in the 38 right behind them.
In the next row, in row number 11, you have Frederick Kamines, and then on the high side, you have Kevin Waltler.
Nathan Nixon and Ryan Potter will follow them in the inside and outside, 33 and 99.
Then you have Brett Kingcott in the Mark Martin throwback, and then on the outside, you have Kyle Hall.
Behind them is a surprising qualifying performance from Elliott Henderson and Ashton Lawson, who were both pretty fast in practice. We'll be seeing them to move up the field here.
In the next row, we have Kyle Noggle and Rod Fasano. I think that's how you say it.
Briar Fritz showing off just how exploitable qualifying is with a 3-minute lap time in qualifying, and then Brandon Kaufman being the first of our non-qualifiers as we're
And
going to be heading green here in a second, Kyle.
the pace truck's pulling off, and Jake Miller leads him to the green flag here at Darlington. Got off to a really early restart there. I don't think a lot of drivers were expecting that. Jake Miller already off to a good gap of a lead.
The outside lane did not get going there. Daniel Nanny did end up slotting in, but pretty much everybody behind him just fell back a lot as they very quickly go single file almost all the way through the top 10 now as we head down to turn 3. Seems like a bit of trouble in the back straight coming out of turn 2. Who's that?
It looks like Gavin Fitzgerald in the Matt Kenseth throwback. Almost spun it around.
Man, what happened to Gavin there coming off the corner? He's still loose. He's having trouble getting going.
Yeah, he flat spotted those tires trying to save it. It's going to take him around a lap to gather it up, really. There's a lot of chatter on the radio. You're looking at the number 9 in his Bill Elliott throwback. That's Hunter Madalinas. Hunter Madalinas looking to move his way through the field after starting 12th. He's already up to the 10th position, following in right behind Matthew Durr. And here comes a battle. Here comes Nicewalker to the inside of the number 45 of Steve Sims. And that'll move him into the 5th spot.
And Nicewalker got off to a pretty good start. He started in 9th. Now he's up to 6th. Same thing with Tyken and Tyrell Baker behind him, moving up a couple spots on that initial start. I'm still trying to figure out what had happened on that restart initially. It sounded like some guys were getting run over in the back and a lot of chaos ensued. We didn't get a caution though, so I guess it's all nice and dandy as Jake Miller and Daniel Nanny. Jake Miller's pulled out a huge gap and Daniel Nanny's not able to seem to keep up with him, but we'll see what happens the next 10 laps.
Jake Miller has been so strong in all the races that he's been in this season. And he's beginning to put himself way out in front of Daniel Nanny in the number 30. Nanny looking like he's driving a Tony Stewart throwback of sorts this week, as we are at Darlington in throwback week. We're going to get a replay for you of the start of the race and see what maybe had happened there. I'm going to look here on the onboard. Looks like we're looking at the number 14 of Gavin Fitzgerald, our broadcast partner. Let's see what he sees on the screen, see what happened with him as he's following Briar Fritz in the number 77 machine on this restart coming into turn number 1. A lot of chaos up there you saw in the background of the photo. See someone down there in the Interstate Batteries machine all the way down there. A lot of chaos already going on up front. Gavin Fitzgerald, they're already wrecking down here. The 33 looks like he's turned around. And Gavin's just all the way down there and just in a bad line, really. You have to be on that higher surface. Isn't that right, Alex?
Yeah, the bottom line is definitely the struggling line on this racetrack. If you're side by side, it's kind of hard to come off the corners as it kind of gets pinchy. As the outside lane, it's either going to go into the wall or come down into you. So that's something we're going to be watching out for today. It seems like something happened in the mid pack, which caused him to react. We're looking here on the 33, and oh my gosh! Whoa, whoa! Incredible that was not a caution. I'm surprised there. That should have been a caution, honestly, but he kept it rolling and we're still green 7 laps into this race, coming on to 8.
They're really lucky that wasn't a bigger accident than it was. It looked like Nick Hansen got up in the wall and tried to save it and cut down across the track in front of a bunch of guys. I'm surprised there wasn't a bigger accident because of that, but it looked like the number 33 had gotten it turned around, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just what happens here at Darlington. I mean, typically when something like that happens, some guy gets sideways into the wall, typically you see a wreck happen, but I mean, a lot of the guys, while they were spinning, stayed out of the way. A wreck's happening in the back of the field. What had happened? Corey Stevens on the backstretch in the inside wall, he just towed it off the track.
This has been an interesting start to the race at the Lady in Black. And there's Corey Stevens right there in the Interstate Batteries machine, number 38. He's towed it. I'm going to try to maybe get you a replay on the incident. Here's an onboard of the number 38, Corey Stevens in the Interstate Batteries Dale Jarrett throwback. Goes to the inside a little bit. Oh, big Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. So who's coming to his funeral? Are you guys coming? I'm going.
Also unfortunate for Nathan Nixon, who was involved in that lap 1 incident, getting into him because of that. It just kind of looked like Briar Fritz got under him, and it got a bit too tight off the corner. He got into the wall, and, well, the lady in black bit him and slammed him into the inside wall. That's highly unfortunate.
Yeah, really big hit from Corey Stevens, and it looked like the guy that got into the wall was Rod Fosna. I do not know how to pronounce that name. I think he is a newcomer, and that looks to be a Ricky Craven throwback, but KFC stylized.
Yeah, I believe he's looking for some Ricky Craven luck, but after getting into the wall, I'm not sure how well that's going.
Looking at the number 30 in second place, Daniel Nanny. Daniel Nanny looks pretty strong on that first run. Jake Miller put most of that gap on the restart and then began to pull away a little bit more as the run went on. But Nanny looked tough. He was beginning to put a little bit of a gap of himself between himself and Aaron Duclos in the number 97. So interested to see now that he's more prepared for what Jake Miller might do on this restart, see what happens with Daniel Nanny in that number 30.
One thing that's notable about this caution is Jake Miller had pulled out a very big gap early on in this race, and now that they're tightened up together and nobody pit this time around, it's going to mean that Daniel Nanny, who looked like he might have been saving his tires a little bit, we'll see how well he is against Jake Miller on this restart. What is also notable is that these drivers do also have 5 sets of tires in the pits for a 150 lap race, so they'll have plenty of times to come down pit road if these cautions keep coming out.
Like you said, Alex, though, Darlington eats up tires. It's one of those old surfaces that just really tears up tires more than probably any other track I could think of, at least on the NASCAR circuit currently.
Yeah, the only other track I could maybe think of that wears tires out just as much would be Atlanta, but I mean, with that getting a repave, we saw how well that went. Now Darlington is probably going to continue to be the lady in black for a reason, as it may be the only track left on the schedule that'll eat up tires as much come the next gen car next year.
Looks like we got one to go, and while we have the moment, I'm gonna give you a quick word from our sponsors. I would like to mention that the telemetry from today's race is brought to you by SDK Gaming. The telemetry for today's race is SDK Gaming, and if you want to get custom cameras, go to TrackCams for Gourmets. That's TrackCams for Gourmets at TrackCams22.com for all your iRacing cameras. Only half a lap away from going green flag racing here for the Great Lakes Truck Series presented by Patty Engineering. Still very early on as we're on caution number 1. About to go green flag here coming out of turn 4. Jake Miller's going to lead him down. Going to see how Daniel Nanny reacts to this restart as the pace car pulls in. Here comes Jake Miller around the corner. He goes a little bit later than last time. Green flag is out for Jake Miller and Daniel Nanny following in right behind.
Should be careful to watch out for some of the battles in the mid-pack, as that's where the lap 1 incident happened last time. We'll be seeing if it happens again, but it seems like the drivers are keeping it a little bit cleaner this time by. Less wrecks in the midfield, single file out towards the front of the field. However, he still has a battle a little bit towards the front of the field. Who is that? Well, it looked like it was Shane Neiswanger looking for some positions, but he single filed out going into turn 3.
Yeah, we also have to keep in mind on that first start of the race, these guys were on cold tires that didn't have any wear on them. These guys have warmed up their tires and there's some wear on them now. So a little bit easier to take that restart, and they were a lot more prepared after they saw what happened on that first restart. As you see Elliott Henderson in the number 36 making a move on the number 42 of Brandon Barkuski. Brandon Barkuski, by the way, he's announced that he's going full-time racing for the rest of the season, trying to make the playoffs. First race in that 42 today.
And Brendan Barkuski is doing his best reenactment of Ross Chastain from a couple years ago, and he'll see if he can make it into the playoffs and try and be a championship contender at the end of this year. But because the series is based primarily off points, however, wins do make a big difference. We'll see if he could keep doing it. We hear a wreck at turn 1 from the 62.
Yeah, big contact for Briar Fritz. The number 92 of Michael Sensi, your points leader, he's up in smoke. A huge hit from that number 77 of Briar Fritz, though, and then you're looking at the number 92. Your points leader coming into tonight, Michael Sensi, the winner at Daytona, has a blown motor up in smoke, and he's going to come down pit road. Hate to see it. Very early on in this race, and we're getting some cautions here at Darlington. We're going to get a replay for you on that incident. Watching Briar Fritz and the number 77 machine, and that Justin Haley Daytona win throwback all the way up high, gets up into the wall, spins it out almost, and yeah, there it goes. And that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. A lot of mangled cars out of that one.
I'm interested to see how Briar had such a big run on Ryan Potter. What was going on with Ryan Potter that he was so slow going down the front straight that it even allowed Briar to get to his outside, because he was way out in front of him going down the front straight, and yet they were side by side going into the corner.
Not sure, Alex. The one thing I could possibly think of is just taking it really easy on your tires. Like we've been mentioning, this track really eats up your tires. And I know that I'm personally one of those guys that backs off real early into the corners early on in the run so I can save my tires for later in the run. And maybe that's what Ryan Potter was doing there.
I'm not sure about that. I'm looking at my personal replay, and it looks like he had a bit of a mistake going through turns 3 and 4, and it just kept going for most of the corner. If we could get an onboard replay of the 99, that would definitely give us a bit of insight about what had happened that led up to this incident.
Here we are going to look at Ryan Potter in the number 99 machine as he gets up into the wall, gets a little loose, and he's trying to just get it back up to speed coming down the front stretch. And he's just trying to save it as well at the first half of that front stretch, it looked like. And then Fritz comes to his outside, and madness and mayhem just ensue after that. It looks like James Shiflett got lucky by the lag right there, as he was able to drive through it by literally driving through a couple of trucks right there.
This is one of the things we talk about that I mentioned at the beginning that kind of makes this track a bit of a wild card for some of these guys, is there's a lot of opportunity for mistakes, especially down in that corner, as the fastest lane is almost right up against the wall, but if you're that close to the wall, you could do what Ryan Potter just did there, get into the wall and end up being involved in an incident you should have been way ahead of.
You hate to see it. Hate to see it for Briar Fritz. I see Christopher Heller in the chat. Yeah, you got to feel for Briar Fritz. He's been looking strong the last couple of weeks and was looking to possibly get through the mayhem, which we kind of expected of Darlington. But just the mayhem got him, it looked like, and it looked like the lady in black bit him.
And Briar has had some unfortunate races the past few weeks in trucks and cup, but we know he has speed. He's been running pretty good whenever he's not in an incident. It's just a matter of he gets unlucky, gets involved in an incident, or gets involved in somebody else's mistake, and it ends up hurting his entire day. We'll hopefully be seeing him next week run a little bit better, but for now, we're going to be looking back at the race at the front of the field, as doesn't seem like anybody pits in this time by. Wouldn't really expect that with how quick the caution was, but this keeps happening. We could end up seeing some guys at the front of the field thinking, hey, maybe this is my time to try and get some positions if this goes green.
We're going to get the one to go this time. But like you said, Alex, if we keep on seeing cautions, I really can see a lot of strategy come into play. Some guys take tires, some guys not taking tires. Should be an interesting one, as we're around a half a lap away from going green flag racing once again here at Darlington. We'll go green flag racing at lap number 20, which will give us 131 laps to go here at Darlington in the Too Tough to Tame 200. Jake Miller so far has led every lap so far.
Yeah, Jake Miller has been leading all those laps. He's been pulling good gaps, has been having great restarts, totally uncontested from Daniel Nanny, and Daniel Nanny also pretty much uncontested for that second position. But we'll see as these tires wear if that could continue to be the trend, as this time Jake Miller is on the inside, Daniel Nanny outside, and once again, pretty much no contention for first and second, but we're side by side for third and fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way through there.
And the field kind of got stacked up a little bit back there. I was watching Alex. Oh, the 37's up in the wall. McLean's up in front of the field. Oh, he's up in the air. He's flying. Call Southwest Airlines. Oh my gosh. A huge accident in McLean. Steve is not happy on the radio. The number 37 machine, the Terry Labonte machine, Texas Terry, is no more as he's sitting on the track. We're definitely going to have to get a replay on that. That was insane. Wow. What happened there, Alex? Did you see what happened there? We're actually going to get a replay here.
Yeah, let's watch live with the audience and see what had happened. It just, I don't know. It kind of, I kind of want to say Ty Aiken went into the corner a little bit wide, but at the same time, if we could get a bit of a closer look, I'm seeing from my perspective is that there was a pretty good gap in between them, and it just sent McLean around.
And we're gonna get another look here, and it looks like that might have been net code, but it looks like as well that Ty Aiken sent it in a little hard into turn 1, but it looked like the net code monster of iRacing might have gotten the number 37. You got a feel for him being taken out this early in the event, and he's fighting for a playoff spot. The number 37, he's trying to get into the playoffs. He did not need this. Yeah, you see it right there. Aiken slides up a little bit, but there's definitely some air between those two trucks.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see it here, especially at a track that's so tight like Darlington, to have netcode bite you. It's really nothing you can avoid either, as you kind of have to race really close with people, especially on those restarts, as any track position is going to be extremely hard to get back. But unfortunate for Steve McLean, his netcode decided that this time his time is now, and not only did it spin him around, but we also got to see some United Airlines space flight.
I would like to mention also that Steve McLean has just left the track. He was just sitting on the track for the last couple of laps and just now got off of the racetrack in the number 37. And there's still some anger on the radio, Alex. I don't know if you got the chat on, but these guys are really going back and forth here. So I would expect some tempers on Twitter later. So you all should definitely keep an eye out.
Exactly what we need. More stuff going on Twitter.
It's always fun. Looking to see if we're going to get the 1 to go this time by as the pace car is about to come past the line. See if Jake Miller, it looks like Jake Miller will pick the inside lane as he's already down low. But nope, I think we're going to get 2 to go this time.
I believe we're
Jake
still
Miller.
2 to go. So this time, I mean, as we're hearing from a bit of our production crew, as we do go back to that a little bit, it did seem like, yeah, Ty Aiken probably would have still gotten into him. I mean, there was a chance he probably could have avoided him. However, I don't know. I'm not really sure. It's hard to say. You know, both iRacing and Ty Aiken could be at fault for that incident, but I'm sure Steve McLean would be saying that, oh, it's all Ty Aiken, even if he did saw the replay. But from our perspective in the booth, it does kind of seem a little bit like it could have been a bit of both. I feel maybe if Ty hit the brakes, slowed down a little bit more, he might have been able to avoid him, but not with that kind of netcode going on.
Yeah, that was definitely a very violent accident for the number 37 right there. You saw the big hit Dr. Pepper car laid on him. I'm not sure which car that was actually that's in that. Looks to be a Kevin Grubb throwback. But that 37 truck was just kind of hanging in the fence for a second there. Like I said, he was sitting on the track for a couple laps. He was sitting right there in the middle of 1 and 2. Didn't move for a couple laps. He just had left the track around a lap or 2 ago now. And I think we're going to get the 1 to go this time by, and we did. Jake Miller has picked the inside lane once again.
I mean,
I love this.
Yeah,
I love the sarcasm, Michael Sensi.
Steve McLean's still angry over the radio as soon as driver chat gets enabled. Let's hope that he doesn't interrupt anybody on this restart. We're looking for a bit of silence over the driver radio. Let's remind our audience here, if you're in a race and they're going on to a restart and they're starting a race, try not to continue anything that happened on the previous caution, because guys will want to keep racing.
I'd like to also mention that these guys still haven't taken tires, so this should possibly get interesting. Seeing how these guys are going to battle into 1 and 2, seeing if some guys might slide up the track like you just saw in that previous restart. Interested to see what happens here as the pace car is about to pull off, and there he goes. There goes the Ford Mustang down pit road as Jake Miller is going to lead him to the green flag. It's back out in the too tough to tame 200. And a good restart from Jake Miller, and Aaron Duclos slid up the track a little bit off the corner. Looks like Ty Aiken's going to now take the 3rd spot because of that.
Starting to single file, but it looks like they might try and go side by side here for 4th position. He's giving him the lane. He's letting him get the lane on exit. I believe that is... Who is that? Oh, sorry, my lineup's messed up. That is Tyler Baker, who just got the position on Aaron Duclos going into turn 3 and 4. Great move there to pinch it on the outside and get the position. That'll help him out later in the run. A Shane nice one.
Oh, and that number 44 is in the wall, and that whole field's going to stack up behind him. The 44 truck got a big time Darlington stripe down the right side. You see it there on your screen. He really smacked the wall hard, Tyler McKellen. And the whole field kind of stacked up behind him. Great job by these guys able to get past, but the 44 with a lot of right side damage after that one.
He's immediately going to come back and try and get a position on the 6 car, Brent Kincott.
Oh, and he slides up.
Oh, it's really tight, Kyle, but they kept it going. Nobody into the wall. Great move by the whole field to not only avoid him, but allow Tyler McClellan to get back into the race without causing any more incidents. Who's that on the apron?
It looked like it was Anderson Bowen in the target machine, it looked like. Way off the pace. Not missing anything up front as the top 2 have stayed the same, but that number 025 of Tyrell Baker, he's putting the pressure on Ty Aiken in the number 71. The 025 looking to make some moves, quick.
We'll see if that bites him later in this run, but if we keep getting cautions, as we have been, his aggression could be what gets him these positions and allows him to stay up front. That is a strategy. As he's in the wall, that's not how you keep position, but he's gonna keep it because he has a gap to Aaron Duclos, thankfully.
But that gap is beginning to shrink, Alex. As Shane Nicewanger, I think he's going to try to get past Duclos in a second because I've been watching his lap times. He's running about the same lap times as the top 2. Only a couple hundredths off that last time by. So I would keep an eye on the number 49 machine over the next few laps. And then Ashton Lawson and Elliott Henderson back here, of course. Both these guys have almost moved up 20 spots as they have moved themselves into the top 10 and 9th and 10th as they battle out for the 9th spot. You see Brandon Barkuski there in the 42 truck, right there in the 11th spot. He's looking to get a victory. He declared himself full-time for the Truck Series today, and he's going to try to get himself a victory and lock himself in the playoffs. Wouldn't that be impressive, Alex?
That would most definitely be impressive to come this late into the season. What are we on? We're on race 7 or 8 now, I believe? That would be impressive if he can make it into the playoffs after that. But you also brought me to a notable thing is that, well, I mean, Ashton Lawson and Elliott Henderson had come from 28th and 27th on the grid to 9th and 10th, and they're battling for it this early into the race with that many cautions. I don't know where they came from.
Oh, we have a battle for 3rd. Tyrell Baker really sent it into 3 and 4 as Ty Aiken got the wall a little bit coming off of turn 2. And Tyrell Baker is right on Ty Aiken's bumper coming off the corner. Interested to see maybe what he does in 1 and 2. Ty Aiken slid up out of 2 last time by and got the wall. Let's see what happens this time by as Tyrell Baker is right behind him in the Bisquick Chevy. No move that time, but Tyrell Baker's right on his bumper heading into 3 and 4. He's really putting the pressure on Ty Aiken. And this is one of those tracks where pressure, you can feel it because you're all the way up against that wall. One little mistake and you're in it.
Well, you know who else is feeling a lot of pressure right now is our leader, Jake Miller. Daniel Nanny is right on top of him. It seems like the tire saving that Daniel Nanny, we believed, was doing early in the race is working out as he's caught up to him a lot and is right on his bumper at this point in the race.
Daniel Nanny has cut down that gap a good amount on Jake Miller. Daniel Nanny and that Tony Stewart throwback must be saying, here, kitty, kitty, right about now as he's trying to get to Jake Miller's bumper.
The easy part is getting to their bumper. The hard part is passing him. We'll see where he tries to set up a move. It's going to be really hard to try and pass on the inside, but getting to the outside is nearly impossible. So I don't know how he's going to get around him, but we'll see if he could find a way, and maybe Jake Miller makes a mistake if he keeps putting pressure on him.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of pressure on him. He's right there. That last lap, though, it looked like Jake Miller might have gapped him a little bit. We're going to see the speeds at the line this time by. Jake Miller ran around a half a tenth quicker than Daniel Nanny, around 400ths to be exact. You're seeing Ty Aiken has gapped the number 025 a little bit as well. The number 71 machine of Ty Aiken. He's moved up 10 spots since the start of the race.
There's definitely a strategy here at this racetrack, is because it's so hard to pass. If you're in front of a guy, I mean, you could pretty much create a train behind you and save your own tires while they're desperately trying to get around you. And it seems like Ty Aiken, holding up Tyler Baker a little bit, has found a bit in his tires and is now going to try and drive away from him. But at the same time, you know, if you're on their bumper, even if you do save tire, like Daniel Nanny is right now, you could get caught up in a bit of dirty air going through the fast corners of turn 1 and 2 and have a lot of a hard time getting the car to turn.
This is definitely a difficult track, especially as the run progresses. Just makes it more and more difficult to really keep that truck off the wall. As you're watching this battle around the 10th spot right now, this is 11th on back. These guys have been battling out the last couple of laps, trying to get past the number 42. They're going to the back of the field, watching the field go through. And here's Tyler McClellan, who's had his issues today. Matthew Durr in the number 41. Oh, and there they go off the corner. What a save, though. Kyle Hall looked like in the number 87. Looked like he was going around for sure. You saw in the background of your screen. I don't know how he saved. And the 62 truck is into the wall again. There's some chatter on the radio going on. I didn't recognize I was wondering who was on an Office Depot truck this whole entire time. I just realized that's William Barbagelata. He's not in his bright green colors. He's driving a Carl Edwards throwback. That really threw me off.
Also threw me off. I was looking for him on the track. I was spectating him. I didn't even realize where he was. William Barbagelata, however, is 3 laps down, so his race is not going exactly how he would have liked. Ty Aiken is a lap down. What had happened to Ty Aiken? Ty Aiken is disconnected from the server from our 3rd position. That promotes Tyler Baker up to 3rd. What had happened?
Definitely interested in what happened with Ty Aiken. Maybe he had disconnected, or maybe he had something to do, or maybe he just walled the car and decided to take it down pit road. I'm not sure what happened to Ty Aiken there. As you see the number 87. Looking at Aaron Duclaw. There he is. Number 71 of Ty Aiken. Looks like the 025 Tyrell Baker had gotten past him. And you see Ty Aiken in the number 71. I'm not sure what had happened there. It looked like he might have just disconnected, or maybe his computer took a crap.
Yeah, I did some investigating. It looked like he had gotten into the wall, which allowed Tyler Baker to get around him, and then hit the wall again. And we could only assume Alt F forward, as it didn't say that he lost connection, but rather he manually disconnected himself. So unfortunate for Ty Aiken and his race. But who that does help is William Barbagelata, as that'll put him as the lead car on a lap down. As a caution comes out.
Looks like it's Barkuski around the 42, it looked like. Oh, man, you hate to see it. Brandon Barkuski. We were all pulling for him here in the booth. Trying to get himself a playoff spot. That number 42 driving the Juan Pablo Montoya throwback. Oh, man, you hate to see it. I'm going to try to get you a replay on that one. As he does look to he might have had some help. He has a good amount of left quarter panel damage.
I also believe he got a bit of help there. But to be fair, he was in an area where there was a lot of trucks gaggled up, as we see side by side right in front of him. We'll see how this happens. Coming off turn 2, it's going to get really tight as they're side by side, and he just kind of gets rear-ended coming out of turn 2.
It looked like that was Brandon Kaufman, the number 74. He's been really fast. He's been that one guy that's been hanging around with Elliott Henderson and Ashton Lawson driving through the field. As you're going to see the replay here, this will be a better angle. Looks like the 42 of Barkuski slows up for Lawson, and then Kaufman just wasn't at all ready for it. Got into the back of the number 42 of Barkuski, and Brandon Barkuski goes around. You hate to see it for Brandon Barkuski, but I think he was able to stay on the lead lap, if I'm not mistaken, and he doesn't have that much damage, so he can definitely recover from this.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see it. That's one of those things. Again, they're battling side by side. This racetrack's so tight, and the outside lane typically coming off turn two, either the inside lane tries to pinch it low to not pinch the outside into the wall, the outside backs out of it, and that time he backed out of it, and well, they kind of just ran out of real estate.
That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. And it looks like we had some takers on not going on pit road. It looks like I'm looking on my graphic. It looks like Jordan Gonzalez had stayed out in the number 3 machine, looking to pull some strategy, maybe try to save some tires for possibly later in the race. He's maybe expecting some green flag runs and late race cautions possibly in the number 3 machine as he once again forgoes pit road. The only guy that stayed out, actually, it looks like, is the number 3 of Jordan Gonzalez.
It's an interesting time to have a caution as we're 30 laps into the race. So pretty much predictably, everybody on the lead lap is going to take tires. Everybody a lap down. Like, as I was mentioning, William Barbagelata literally was the first car lap down at the time of caution, has one of his laps back, and may end up taking a wave around if he could get around the field again. So this could be a fantastically timed caution for him to try and get him back in the race.
I would like to mention that it looked like Jake Miller was speeding on pit road because he is falling to the back of the pack right now, and that's why you don't see him on your screen. The number 4 machine was your leader at moment of caution. Looked like he had gotten a black flag as he is falling to the back of the pack. I repeat, the number 4 machine, and there you see him on your screen. Jake Miller's led every lap of this race coming before this caution, and now he has to go to the back of the pack. And honestly, that could be good for someone like Brandon Barkuski because now he could use Jake Miller as kind of like a shield, and Jake Miller can just make all the passes kind of for him. You know what I mean?
I'm speechless about this. Jake Miller got a speeding penalty. He was way ahead of Nanny as well. So not only did he get a speeding penalty, but he got a speeding penalty that he could have given up time to avoid. So this is going to drastically hurt him at a track that's so hard to pass. I can't emphasize enough how hard it is to pass here. Now he's going to have to try and drive his way through the whole field to try and get to the front again.
It's definitely possible though, Alex, because we see Elliott Henderson and Ashton Lawson up here in the top 10. They've moved up 20 spots each. You have Aiden DuPont, he's up here now. You have, I think, Brandon Kaufman, he was just up here. He moved up 20 plus spots. Gavin Fitzgerald, he's gotten himself into the top 15. So it's definitely possible, especially with the accidents we've had today, Alex, that these guys can get through the field.
Well, one thing that could either help or hurt him right now is Jordan Gonzalez is out on the racetrack still, 1 to green as the leader. I don't know about this call. This is going to throw the field for a wild ride going through turns 1 and 2 and pretty much for the next 3 laps, I imagine.
Yeah, this should be an exciting restart, Alex, as the number 3 truck has yet to take tires. So those are 44 lap old tires on that number 3 truck as they take the green flag. Green flag is back out in the Too Tough to Tame 200. There's a good restart from Gonzalez, actually. Daniel Nanny's in the 2nd spot, but look who's in 3rd, Hunter Madalinas. We haven't really mentioned him all day, and all of a sudden he's in the 3rd spot. Let's see if he can hang on as he's right in front of the number 025 of Tyrell Baker, who looked really strong at the end of that run. And here comes Nanny to the high side, and they're wrecking off the corner. Aaron Duclos. And the bad luck streak continues for him as Caleb DeSorda is around. The number 10 of Hunter Brittle looks like. The number 62. A lot of trucks, and there's no caution out here on the speedway for some reason. I don't know where the flag man is.
iRacing being iRacing, somehow this is not a caution. A ton of trucks involved in a huge incident coming out of turn 2, and yet somehow not a caution. So they're gonna stay green. Drivers who survived the chaos, this is fantastic for them. They're gonna stay out of it, including somebody like Jordan Gonzalez, who would have been behind this if he didn't stay out.
With all that madness, guess who's already in the top 10? Brandon Barkuski. Brandon Barkuski's already up here battling for the 10th spot. This is insane. Look at him. The number 42 machine's up to 11th place. Right in front of him is 10th place of Brent Kincott. So he really, really benefited off that. Jake Miller up to the 14th spot after that big incident. But you have to feel for the number 97 of Aaron Duclos. I mentioned his bad luck continues. Duclos has been fast week in and week out and just has not had the finishes to show for it. And you hate to see it. Especially without the caution, it's almost a day ender for someone like Duclos.
It's not. This is not what Duclos wanted to see. Our preseason Thunder winner was going into the season with a lot of hype after winning in a spectacular finish, but it seems like the actual Truck Series points season has not been going as well for him as he would have liked, and once again he gets involved in an incident that's going to end his day while he was running really, really good. But as we come back to the front of the field, we see Tyrell Baker on the back bumper of Daniel Nanny. He's just going for it every single one of these restarts. He's going to push the tires off the car and try and get as much track position as he can as early as he can.
You see Tyrell Baker trying to take the lead from Daniel Nanny, but oh, well, now I'm going to kind of watch it. It looks like Tyrell Baker's going to send it in, but he didn't. But I've been really watching 4th and 5th place. Ashton Lawson and Elliott Henderson. I've mentioned him a bunch of times. They've been moving through the field as this race goes on. I think those are the 2 fastest guys. I think those are the guys to beat today, Alex. As here comes Tyrell Baker. He's going to dive it into 1 and 2. Oh, he saves it. Almost gets into Nanny's door. And Madalinas is now right on his bumper. And Daniel Nanny loves this because now he's going to have a big gap. And Madalinas comes over the radio. Hunter Madalinas barely able to get through that, as it looks like the number 3 of Elliott Henderson, 36 of Elliott Henderson has moved to the 3rd spot.
Yeah. While Darlington may be the easiest track to use up your tires and be faster than some guy, it does not quantify being the easiest to try and pass somebody. That just goes to show the frustration of running this racetrack the way it is. It's so hard to pass somebody who's running the right line. You just can't seem to get position on them and keep it there. You always end up losing out no matter how fast you are. And we saw right there, if anything worse were to happen to Tyler Baker, that could have been an incident between him and Hunter Madalinas or even Daniel Nanny for the lead.
Yeah, that was definitely some craziness there between the top 3, but it's calmed down now as Daniel Nanny has a little bit of a gap between himself and Tyrell Baker. But Baker is once again chipping away at it. He might take another shot at this. The number 025 Bisquick Chevy. He's beginning to drive down Daniel Nanny. And here he is coming into turns 3 and 4. He really sends it in there as he got into less than a car length. And he's going to be right there coming off the corner as they're going to pass Sensi on the outside.
We have this great battle at the front of the field. Another notable thing that I'll eat my words is Jake Miller is already up to the top 10. He's in the 10th position right now already after starting pretty much at the back of the field with the EOL penalty coming off pit road. He's very quickly marching his way through the field.
I would just love to see him at the front, Daniel Nanny, Ashton Lawson, Elliott Henderson. I want to see these 4 guys go at it. And right when I say that, it looks like Lawson's on the wall. You saw it on the back of your camera. It looked like Ashton Lawson had gotten the wall, and the number 24, Jeff Gordon throwback, the Rainbow Warrior, the Wonder Boy right here. And he has lost some spots.
That's significant right side damage for Ashton Lawson. That's definitely going to hurt him, whether that be handling or aerodynamics. He's probably not going to be in as good as condition as he was before, as Jake Miller gets around Brett Kingcott now with a big slider going through 3 and 4. That's really the best position on the racetrack to pass, is going into turn 3. You could throw a slider on the guy and pull up in front of him as long as you don't hit the wall. That's what I would advise other drivers to look out for when they're trying to get around people.
Yeah, I've noticed that's one of the better spots to pass, but it's also because it's still early on in this run. No one's really trying to battle that out like that, especially in 3 and 4, where it's just so tough to be neck and neck. But if something like that happens with a couple laps to go for the lead, I bet it's not going to be as easy.
Well, 2 people that are battling is Tyrell Baker and Daniel Nanny. They're moving around lap traffic. Oh, Tyrell Baker gives a bump to Daniel Nanny going into turn 1. I mean, he's relentless.
Actually gave Nanny a little bit of a boost going into the corner. Daniel Nanny has a little bit of a gap, and here comes the number 025. He's up against the wall trying to get on the high side of Nanny. It looked like the lap car and hold him up for a second there. And he's all over his bumper coming off the corner. The number 025, Tyrell Baker. He's trying to make a move on your race leader of Daniel Nanny.
Tyrell Baker is keeping us entertained in this Darlington race. He refuses to stop. He refuses to slow down. He wants that lead.
Yeah, Tyrell Baker has looked really strong on this run. The end of last run. Oh, and there's a wreck on the back stretch. Caleb DeSorda. He's around the 45 of Steven Sims. Oh, and ooh, a lot of guys flying through there. And Steven Sims is way off the track. And it's a lot of chatter on the radio. It sounds like there might have been a secondary incident with Caleb Desorda. No cautions out on the speedway once again. I don't know what's going on today, but a lot of madness going on here at Darlington as Daniel Nanny is trying to gap the 025.
It seemed like a lap car those guys were racing around. Two lap cars were racing side by side, not even for position. They were just side by side. And Caleb Desorder had gotten into the wall, which stacked him up and ended up causing an incident at the front of the field.
And watch the patience from Eric Kepf in the 63. That's why he's one of the smartest guys I've ever raced with, like, period. That's why. You just watch Eric Kepf. Like, he just like went through that just so slow. But he got without any damage.
He'd even locked up the tires trying to slow down enough to avoid that. I mean, that's something that I don't think I could do. I'm so concerned with keeping pace at the front of the field that I'll try and full throttle it through there trying to keep position. But if that's his strategy and it keeps working for him, hey, keep doing it. Because for me, I either wreck or I make it through and keep going. So if he could make it through more than I can, he'll get more positions than I will.
Yeah, it seems like iRacing has not been helpful with the cautions, as both those wrecks were technically off of the racing surface. So that's why I think the caution had not came out on both of those chances. But there was multiple vehicles involved, so you would hate to see it. And I would have loved to see the caution out, but we stay green. Daniel Nanny is your race leader. He has a decent gap between himself and Tyrell Baker as he's gapped in the last few laps. As I'm worried if Baker maybe used up his tires trying to get to Daniel Nanny that second time.
Well, I have a different story going on. Now, remember, start of the restart, remember who had led the field onto the restart was Jordan Gonzalez. He is now 2 laps down at this point in the race. Another 30 laps, and he's 2 laps down. That'll show you the tire difference after only 30 laps around this 1-mile racetrack.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, these guys that came on that last caution, they pit around maybe 20 laps ago. They've almost fallen off a whole second and a half already. So tires are just so freaking huge here at Darlington. But they're also the reason that Gonzalez is 2 laps down, because I think he made a pit stop because he was going to run out of gas, as I'm pretty sure our fuel window is around 51 laps. So he's on pressure tires right now in the number 3 machine, trying to get past the number 36.
Yes, thank you, Kyle. I'd forgotten about that. Yes, to remind our viewers, the fuel window for tonight is, from what we hear on our inside info, is 51 laps. So if he had stayed out in that last caution, that meant he pit about 10 laps ago. So he should have about 20 lap newer tires.
Oh, and someone blew a motor.
Yeah, Hunter Brittle had blown a motor. From the 18th position, he was about to get lapped, but that'll end his day.
Hunter Brittle and the Jeremy Mayfield throwback. Didn't really mention him all day because he was involved in that incident late there. You hate to see it, but you're looking at the number 36, Elliott Henderson. He's in front of the number 9 of Hunter Madalinas as he passed him a few laps ago, able to take away the 3rd spot. Have to be interested if these guys are possibly thinking about tires because of that tire fall off. Do you think we could possibly see some early pit stops today, Alex?
Well, I learned a painful lesson running some of my own league races that short pitting, especially around these ovals, just doesn't seem to help you out that much. I mean, Darlington, especially with its high wear, is just going to mean that, yeah, you'll get a lot of time in one lap, but it's going to become a lot easier for the guys who pit later than you to pass you right back.
That's a good point, Alex. But also with this race, there's been a lot of chaos, so some of these guys can possibly try a strategy where they could maybe stay out as long as they can and maybe hold on to the lead and get a caution, or possibly even pit. There's a lot of strategies that can come into play, especially the way this race has been. A lot of chaos. Daniel Nanny currently leading the race after that last caution. Jake Miller had gotten a speeding penalty, which put him at the back of the pack, and he's already driven himself back up to the 5th spot. But ever since then, Daniel Nanny has been your race leader in the number 30. Tyrell Baker currently in 2nd, Elliott Henderson in 3rd, Hunter Madalinas in 4th, and then, like I said, Jake Miller's there in the 5th spot. And then look who's in 6th, Brandon Barkuski, looking to get himself into the playoffs. Yeah, here he is on your screen, the number 42, Brandon Barkuski.
Well, Brennan Barkowski in 6th place, but right in front of him, Jake Miller in the 4 car. He's up to 5th now. Again, starting from the back of the pack after an EOL on pit road. I'm astonished. This racetrack is typically so difficult to pass, and he's found a way to pass. And he's up to 5th place. And while there's a huge gap to Hunter Mandolinas in 4th, he's been running very solid lap times.
Looking at Jake Miller as he's just trying his best to get back up to the lead, as he's been the dominant guy of today. We'll go to the chat real quick. I see someone cheering on for Eric Kep. Eric Kep currently has recovered for the 12th spot after almost getting involved into that incident. So we love to see it. Mr. Pink not in the pink car this week. And I'm not sure which driver throwback that is. I recognize the car, but I cannot tell you whose throwback that is. Alex, do you know whose throwback that is?
I believe he had put it on Twitter. It's an old Truck Series driver from the 90s. I'm currently looking for it. Ah, yes, here we are. I just threw it completely out of whack. I had the page, and I just threw it away. Joe Ruttman, driving the 18 Dodge Ram back in the 90s. That is an old throwback to a Truck Series driver, no less. That's the throwbacks we love to see, is throwbacks back to the own series.
So far, I would say that's probably the throwback of the night. Either that one or the KFC tied Ricky Craven throwback. I forget who's driving that one. I think it was the 68 of Rod Fosborough or Fosna, or however you say his last name. But I'm sorry if you watch this back, Rod. Sorry for butchering your name. I apologize.
Kyle is an expert at doing that. Don't mind him.
Yeah, ask William Barbagelata. Or Brandon Parkuski. Ask either of them.
Barbagelata's entire nickname comes from the fact that Kyle could not pronounce his last name.
Yeah. Watching William Barbagelata right now. Mr. Excitement, Barb. I think he's still a couple laps down at that number 27 machine. He's really hoping on some cautions and some lucky breaks, because if he can get on the lead lap, I think he has a top 10, maybe even a top 5 truck. Just missed the start of that race from disconnecting at the worst possible time. Possibly had some internet issues right before the start of the broadcast, unfortunately, and started the race on pit road. And he's up in the wall. The number 27, he gets off the wall. I think he would qualified in the 3rd position, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely disappointing to see him a couple laps down, and it's going to be almost impossible for him to recover.
Somebody who isn't looking for a caution is Jake Miller, as he went from 5 seconds back of the leader to 3 seconds, and only a second back from Hunter Mandolinas in 4th. And somebody who is hoping for one is Tyrell Baker, who's fallen off the pace, lost position to Elliott Henderson in 2nd. Hunter Mandolinas is catching up to him, and Daniel Nanny's just gapping him.
Yeah, I really think he just used up those tires at the beginning of that run, really trying to get past Nanny. I think it's biting him right now as Tyrell Baker has fallen to the 3rd spot at 0.25. And like you said, Mandolinas is beginning to close in on him, but I wouldn't look too far behind him, because there's a white spot that just seems to be getting bigger, and that's that number 4 of Jake Miller, as he is just flying. Jake Miller, out of that top 5, he was the quickest guy on the racetrack. But guess who was 0.2 quicker than him? Right behind him in the 6th spot. Our man, Brandon Barkuski, ran the quickest lap of the top 10 that last time by almost 0.2.
Well, that's the Darlington trick, is you may be really slow early on, but as long as you don't lose too much track position, you will really benefit at the end of these runs. I mean, Jake Miller's showing that as he just passed Hunter Mandolinas for the 4th position, and Brandon Barkuski, like you said, running some of the fastest laps on the racetrack.
Yeah, it looked like Jake Miller pulled a hell of a slide job on the number 9 of Hunter Mandolinas. As he was performing it, I heard Mandolinas on the radio go, "Slide job!" As Jake Miller made the pass. Jake Miller moves into the 4th spot. Now he begins to drive down the 0.25 and the number 36. Jake Miller, very vocal on the radio as he's beginning to drive down the 0.25 of Tyrell Baker. You see Frederick Kameen's back there. He's beginning to get a little bit bigger, but he's a couple laps down, I think, as he had made a pit stop. So he is not part of this battle.
We're also experiencing some interesting things around the leader. There's about 4 lap cars and a gaggle around him. Was worried they were side by side going through turns 1 and 2. They kind of cleared it out as he came came through, but now the guys behind him are going to have to deal with it if they keep battling.
Another vote for best throwback has to go to Aiden DuPont in that Cole Custer truck throwback right behind the race leader right now. I like that one. I like that Cole Custer throwback. That was his first NASCAR victory right there. So I definitely enjoy that one. And Kyle Hall, whoa, almost contact between Kyle Hall and Daniel Nanny. Kyle Hall is not letting Nanny by at all as he moved to the inside and kind of forced Nanny to the high side. Then he moved to the high side, forcing Nanny to the low side. Nanny's able to finally get past Kyle Hall. Definitely some craziness there between the 87 and the number 30. Almost some contact on the backstretch. They keep on trucking as you see that number 36 of Elliott Henderson. And look who's behind him now. As we were watching that, Jake Miller's moved into the third spot. Now here he comes trying to make it 3 wide for the second spot down the backstretch. And Tyrell Baker will take advantage and he'll get in front of Henderson.
Yeah, that was messy coming out of turn 2 at Elliott Henderson in the lap car. It looked like Elliott, I believe he might have gotten into the wall or just got really loose coming off, had to avoid him. And that gave the position away to both Jake Miller and Tyler Baker.
And Tyrell Baker, he's moved up back to the third spot. And Jake Miller, here he comes. He's moved up to the second spot. Daniel Nanny, he's led ever since Jake Miller got that penalty. But here comes Jake Miller. He's only 2 seconds back. Let's see if he can cut away at this lead of Daniel Nanny. As Tyrell Baker's in the wall going into turns 3 and 4. He's able to keep on trucking.
Yeah, I just found it funny to think, you say, oh, he's only 2 seconds back. Most other racetrack, you'd say, oh man, he's 2 seconds back. How is he possibly going to catch him? But here at Darlington, I mean, the tires fall off so much, you could be catching people by a half second a lap sometimes.
Yeah, this track is crazy when it comes to tires. And depending on how you treat those tires, you can make a lot more out of them. Oh, I'd also like to point out Brandon Barkuski was driving these guys down. I was about to mention him. He pulls onto pit road. He's the first guy out of these leaders to make a pit stop. Like I said, maybe he's pulling a little bit of strategy because he needs to win. The only way he's going to get into the playoffs is with the victory, and that's what the number 42 machine is trying to do as he's on pit road. You're looking at Tyrell Baker try to hold off Elliott Henderson. And here on the radio, Tyrell Baker's actually coming down pit road this time. He must have seen Barkuski came in the last time by, and he's going to try to keep up with him.
Well, these drivers have gone about just under 40 laps, maybe hitting about 40 right now since the last time they pit. So if our fuel numbers are correct, they've got about 10 laps on a tank still. So for him to be doing this is definitely a strategy call. I mean, with 4 sets of tires still left over, I believe, this could be a winning call if the tire gets big enough.
It sounds like one of our leaders got forced into the wall by a lap truck, Jake Miller. He comes down pit road right here. A lot of drivers came down pit road during that conversation as well. A lot of your top 10 guys like Ashton Lawson and Gavin Fitzgerald. A lot of guys came down pit road, but Jake Miller is now on pit road. Brandon Kaufman, not too far behind him. He's on pit road. Your top 5 is still out there on the racetrack. Daniel Nanny, Madalinas, Elliott Henderson, Niswanger, Matthew Durr. When will they come down pit road?
Well, looks like this time by for Daniel Nanny.
Your race leader, Daniel Nanny, comes down pit road, and Madalinas is going to stay out and get a bonus point for leading the lap.
That's also part of a strategy for these leagues that give you an extra point for leading a lap. That could be part of what forces your hand, as a lot of these guys may stay out that 1 extra lap before they pit just to get that lap led. The leaders pretty much have full reign over that as well, which you can control other people's strategies if you try and stay out longer, but it doesn't look like that's the case for Daniel Nanny or Jake Miller, as Hunter Madalinas this time comes down pit road.
I would just like to point out how much of a difference really these tires make. Tyrell Baker came in, I think, 2 laps before Jake Miller, and he's more than a straightaway in front of Jake Miller. Brandon Barkuski, he was way behind these guys before they came into pit road. And now he's a couple of seconds in front of Jake Miller. So tires really make a difference, but it's interesting. I'm interested to see how it happens as this run goes on, as Matthew Durr is your race leader right now, as he's still out on the racetrack. Oh, and there's a wreck on the apron, but no caution.
Daniel Nanny's around on the back straight.
Oh man, you hate to see it. Daniel Nanny, I didn't even pay attention to the truck. I just heard over the radio there was a wreck on the back stretch, and there's the caution. And Matthew Durr, he's the lucky winner. And a lot of people are unhappy on the radio over the caution. It looked like to me what happened there that Daniel Nanny was trying to turn the truck around, and the fact that he was turning the truck around on the racing surface had brought the caution out, and Daniel Nanny in a way gets a break there. I'm not sure if he ended up, I don't know how many laps down he ended up being when that caution came out. I think he's only the 1 lap down. But Matthew Durr is your race leader by a whole lap. Matthew Durr, how do you feel?
There was a lot to talk about there as we see Matthew Durr just coming down pit road. Oh, geez, he almost spun out going down into the pits, but he's in pit lane. I believe pits are closed, so he should be at the back of the field, which hands the lead over to Colby Baker, I believe.
Yeah, Matthew Durr is currently the only truck on the lead lap, so everybody will end up getting the wave around. So it'd be interesting to see how this unfolds on what our lineup's going to be, because I'm very intrigued right now. And someone like Brandon Barkuski, this is going to pay off big dividends for him, because now he's one of those first guys on fresher sort of tires after being at the back and needing a win.
This throws the field for a whole loop. What just happened there? We had Daniel Nanny come out of pit road. He wasn't actually on the racetrack watching the replay. He had come out of the pit lane, going onto the track and looped it around, getting onto the throttle. I was surprised to see that. Typically, you don't see that with these trucks with this horsepower. It seems as he just crossed the seams, he looped it and got it into the inside wall. And then because of that, because of the way he was positioned, he tried to turn himself back around and ended up bringing out the caution.
What it seemed like to me with Daniel Nanny happened right there. He was seeing how much those tires had made a difference, and he saw how far he had fallen back, and he was really trying to get to the gas as quick as he can, but he got to it a little bit too quick, a little bit too hard, and just whipped that number 30 around. And you hate to see it. Daniel Nanny, who's led the most laps here today. You had your two guys that have led the most laps, Jake Miller and the number 30 of Daniel Nanny, faced troubles today so far.
Well, what this also does is this throws a lot of monkeys and wrenches at a lot of drivers, because a lot of them were caught a lap down at the time of the caution. That is the biggest thing with Darlington as well. Other racetracks, you may be able to quickly get your lap back. Darlington, because of the huge tire fall off and the long pit lane, you'll lose a lap, and it might take a little bit to get around other guys who would just pit just to get your lap back. And because of that, only 9 people currently are scored on the lead lap, and a lot of them came down pit road.
So basically, Brandon Barkuski has gotten the lucky dog, and a lot of these guys are going to end up getting the wave around, I think, all the way back to, it's looking like 11th right now. Jordan Gonzalez might be your last wave around guy, as I do see Daniel Nanny and Ashton Lawson are still on pit road. Interested to see if they can get off before the pace car comes back around. But it looks like Daniel Nanny Jordan Gonzalez on up will get the wave around. So the top 11 guys will end up being on the lead lap, it's looking like.
Yeah, apologize for the confusion to our audience here today. I mean, even iRacing is struggling to figure out who belongs where. Until we come around to one to go, we won't exactly know, but it's thrown things for a loop, that's for sure. And this is going to mix up the field a ton coming into this restart. But somebody who seems to have benefited a lot is Tyrell Baker, who had pit early, got his lap back pretty soon, and allowed him to stay out and take the lead on this restart.
So this restart is going to be completely insane, as some of these lap cars are going to be in front of some of the lead lap cars. So this is going to be insane, as those wave around guys are going to be behind all of these lap cars trying to make their way through the field. So this is going to get a little bit crazy and a little bit hairy as these guys are making it around the field. You saw they extended the caution by 1 lap because of all the wave arounds. So we'll end up getting the green flag next time by. we're just outside that fuel window, Alex. It'd be interesting to see if maybe some guys try to pit it maybe at the beginning of this run and just try to run to the end or something like that.
Well, if we're going off of that, we would still be around just under 10 laps short on a tank of fuel, and even if you try and fill it up to the max, I don't think you're going to make it from here, so we're going to be pitting at least once, if barring any extra caution, which with the order the way it is, a caution would just make things so much worse for the guys that are stuck a lap down, and the guys at the back of the field who are on a lead lap would love to see an early caution, but the guys who are caught a lap down would hate to see it, as they're hoping that the new tires can get them back around these guys at the front of the field and get their lap back.
Looks like we might have had some last second takers on pit road, as we only have actually 9 guys on the lead lap, and currently in 3rd place is Gavin Fitzgerald on the track. He's currently your lucky dog right now in the 10th spot as the pace car pulls off, and the number 025 is going to lead him down to the green flag. Tyrell Baker, green flag is out here at Darlington. Matthew Durr is in 2nd.
Yeah, the biggest winner from this engagement is Matthew Durr as well, as he has the newest tires at the highest point in the field, as we see a wreck going on in the back.
Oh, big crash, Madalinas. Madalinas with a lot of damage. Wow, and that was a hard hit. Louis got hit hard by I couldn't make out who that was. It was so quick, looked like a black and yellow machine on the inside. But Hunter Madalinas took a big hit in that Bill Elliott throwback. Wow.
Yeah, the 68 of Rod Fosnauer got into him.
Let's take a look at this replay here. You know, really slow restart back here from a lot of guys, and really backed up the field, it looks like. You see Jake Miller going all the way down low, and it's really getting just backed up here. And it looks like the 68 of Rod looks like he got a little loose, tried to save it, got into the 36 of Henderson, and then, yeah, Madalina's just got completely destroyed. And then look at Rod doing cartwheels. Taking a look at it here. You just see Rod on the outside, and that Ricky Craven throwback just got a little bit loose and didn't realize the 36 was down there, got a little bit in his door. Hate to see it. It looked like maybe Eric Kepf got into, was that Eric Kepf? I couldn't tell who that was in that blue car. I think it was Eric Kepf got a little bit into that as well. And there he is, the number 63 of Eric Kepf. Let's see what he sees here. Eric Kepf coming through the accident right here. Slows down and just, yeah, there's just not really anywhere for him to go. Is the 68, I don't think he was expecting the 68 to get stuck to the wall like he did right there. iRacing kind of got the 68 stuck to the wall and then threw him for some cartwheels.
What's the biggest thing about that is Hunter Madalinas was one of the cars on the lead lap that had taken the wave around, was in the back. Him, Jake Miller, Barkowski, Elliott Henderson were all in the back there. And we saw Elliott Henderson get involved in that. Jake Miller just drove around him when it happened. It seemed like it was a big stack up, as we hear over the driver radio, them talking about a lot of guys were trying to jump the start. But that's disastrous for Hunter Madalinas' race. It's going to hurt Elliott Henderson, as he got involved in the incident a little bit. We'll see how the damage is, but however, that will bring him towards the front of the field again, as he is on the lead lap. He's on pit road. Okay, so he just went down pit road. He probably has tires. He fixed the car up, so Elliott Henderson might be all right. But now we have 10 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, jumping the start happens a lot in the official races. I'm pretty sure they have a jumping the start rule here, so I'm thinking that restart will get reviewed now or later, possibly. But even if there wasn't a jumping the start rule, some tracks you can get away with it, like Chicagoland or Kansas, a multi-groove track. But a track like Darlington, you just can't get away with jumping the start because you're making it 3 wide going into turn 1, and that's just asking for disaster, 100%.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of incidents happen not only in iRacing but in real life where 3 wide just simply does not work. It seems like on iRacing it's even worse than in real life, as the grooves don't really seem to support you when you're doing that. And as we saw there, it just simply did not work in that instance.
Looks like on this next restart, we're gonna have the Baker boys down low as we have Tyrell Baker in first and Colby Baker in third. We haven't really mentioned Colby Baker all day. He's been around a lot of the madness, but overall that 69 truck is pretty clean for the most part. That right front looks a little bit damaged, but first time we're really mentioning him all day. I'd like to say what's up. I see Jacole03 in the chat. What's up to you? I see C Johnson in the chat. I saw that earlier. I meant to say what's up to you, but we had some craziness go on as you saw. But we get the one to go this time. Tyrell Baker leads the field. He's going to pick the inside lane. Matthew Durr's up high. Colby Baker's in third on the inside. Shane Neiswanger's in fourth on the outside. That third row is the row I'm really watching because you have on the inside the number 42 of Brandon Berkuski, who looking for a win to get himself into the playoffs. And then Jake Miller, last week's winner and possibly the fastest truck here today, on his outside. The lucky dog that last time, by the way, was Split Second Broadcasting's partner, Gavin Fitzgerald, as he's back on the lead lap, as we only have 9 guys on the lead lap because of all that madness. You see Gavin Fitzgerald right there at the very end in that black and yellow Matt Kenseth throwback as the pace car is about to pull off. And we're going to go green flag racing. Here comes the Mustang turning left down pit road, and Tyrell Baker is going to lead him green flag racing with just over 50 laps to go. Green flag is out and Baker's off. And Matthew Durr spun the tires maybe even, it looked like a little bit, as he's way far back now coming past the start-finish line.
And Jake Miller's a big loser on that restart. He just lost a couple positions to Berkuski and Elliott Henderson. He's farther back than he should be right now. He is going to try and get some positions. Elliott Henderson gets a bit loose coming off the corner to side-by-side for the 6th position. Eric Kep's going to look to see if he can try and sneak his way on the outside. I don't think he's going to do it, but he might do it coming off turn 4. I think Elliott Henderson's just going to hold him off, and he will. They're single file all the way up to the top 10 now.
Yeah, Kep looked like he backed off the corner, just letting Henderson in, as there's a battle right now for the 4th spot. Brandon Berkuski, he's going to move into the 4th spot and take it away from Colby Baker. As Colby Baker's stuck on the inside, he almost loses it off the corner. A great save from the 69 as Jacob Miller and Elliott Henderson get past him on the high side. And here comes Daniel Nanny, but he is currently a lap down. He's currently your leader when it comes to the lucky dog battle, as you look at Brandon Berkuski trying to hold off Jake Miller for the 4th spot as Miller's coming quick.
Yeah, we've got a few battles going on. We got the battles for actual position up at the front of the field, and then we've got the lucky dog battle going on right behind them between Daniel Nanny and Jordan Gonzalez. They're in 10th and 11th, and they're going to be looking to either just straight up drive past the rest of the field or hope that a caution comes out soon.
You would have to hope someone like Daniel Nanny, if he can get the lucky dog, he's right back in the thick of things. He's right there, back there in the top 10. That's the cool thing about this. If they get the lucky dog, they're right back in the battle, not just for a decent finish, but for the win. As you see Jordan Gonzalez trying to get past the number 69 of Colby Baker so he can get back to Daniel Nanny. Colby Baker is not going to let him by as he's on the lead lap, and here comes Eric Kep right behind him. And this battle for the lead is beginning to close up as Tyrell Baker's tires are really beginning to fall off. You have to keep in mind he has the oldest tires out of the guys on the lead lap. He last pit on lap number 83. That was almost 20 laps ago. We've had some cautions, but Matthew Durr is closing in as you see this battle back here continue.
I believe if this goes green, that Tyrell Baker could actually be in one of the best positions here. Is not only does he have the track position, but he'll be forced to pit earlier, but it should split the stage relatively close in half. And if this stays green, he'll have the newest tires for both stints, which could possibly be the winning move for tonight. However, with Matthew Durr right on his bumper, he could have something to say about that.
Well, if this race stays green, Alex, it's going to 100% come down to tires and when you take them. The winner of this race is going to have to thank their tires and tire strategy, as Jake Miller is really beginning to put the pressure on Berkuski for the 4th spot as he peeked his nose, coming down low, coming into turn 3. He's trying to get past him and get back up to the race lead as Jake Miller led the first quarter of this race.
Jake Miller has been on a mission to get to the front of the field after his problems on pit road, starting in the back, driving through the field, and now he's up in the top 5, had a little bit of a struggle making some progress afterwards, but now he's still in contention for it. being very loud on the radio. He's cheering about Matthew Durr. It doesn't seem like something happened. I guess he's just cheering for encouragement as he wants Matthew Durr to get around him.
Yeah, Jake Miller always very vocal on the radio. You love to hear him on the radio. Gets very excited on the radio. I wish y'all could hear him. He always gets so excited. But Matthew Durr is right there behind the 025 of Tyrell Baker. He's right there. But as these guys are beginning to get closer, look at Shane Nicewanger. We haven't really mentioned him all day, but he's beginning to close on these guys. He's very quietly in that third spot right now, Alex.
Well, Shane Nicewanger's been around the top, like back end of the top 5 for most of the night. Luckily, he stayed out of most of these incidents. Was one of the few cars that was towards the lead lap and got his wave around, got his tires and everything, and now he's in position to possibly win this race. But he is going to have to watch out for Barkowski and Jake Miller behind him, who've been really fast all night.
And I'm watching Barkowski. He's going to do anything he can to win this race. I'm telling you, if he's in second place coming into turn 3, I best believe he's winning that race 100%.
Barkowski has set up a bit of a reputation as being a bit of a wreck-causing driver. However, he's been relatively clear as we have a caution in the back. Colby Baker is in an incident. Eric Keff as well.
Oh man, not Eric. You hate to see it. Eric Kepp has been doing so well all race long. Has been racing so smart, and he was almost guaranteed a top 10 finisher tonight, and now that's gone up in smoke. The number 63. Oh man, I see you in the chat, and I feel for you. I'm feeling right now. I hate to see Eric blown up like this. He's ran a great race, but it looks like it's going to come to an early end as we're going to get a replay here from the number 63 and the number 69. Colby Baker also involved in this incident. You see Colby Baker got up in the wall, and he just couldn't save it. Just flat out lost it. And I'm confused how that blew up Eric's engine, though. That was a pretty minor hit compared for a blown engine. I don't even think he was hit in the nose. Let's take another look at it here. I'm gonna watch the number 69. He just kind of slides up the track and just loses it. And Kef gets leveled by his bumper into the right side door, and somehow that blew his engine. That's an iRacing question. That's not a me question on how that blew his motor.
Well, we have some action on the racetrack on pit road. Is that we have most of the field pitting in for their pit stops. However, one of the exceptions to that is Elliott Henderson, who stays out.
Oh man. Oh, Elliott Henderson has decided to stay out, and he's the lone wolf on that strategy. It's looking like as Elliott Henderson and number 36 will be your race leader, and I think, honestly, his strategy could come at a different way. I don't even think it's necessarily because he doesn't want to take tires. I think it's more on the fact that he wants to keep all these guys a lap down, because if Elliott Henderson pits, all these guys behind him that didn't pit that are a lap down, like William Barbagelata, who could possibly get back on the lead lap. He could have gotten back on the lead lap right there. But he will not. William Barbagelata will stay 1 lap down.
Well, currently William Barbagelata is actually 2 laps down, so he would have gotten one of them back and been the lead car 1 lap down. So he could have possibly gotten a lucky dog if another caution were to come out. However, the one person I imagine Elliott Henderson was watching out for in Daniel Nanny, he got the lucky dog. So he's already on the lead lap, yes, starting at the back of the field. But I'm curious as to what the strategy is for Elliott Henderson. Now pretty much everybody behind him is pit, except for William Barbagelata. Kind of hoping that Elliott Henderson pits in. But I'm curious to see how this goes, because we saw with Jordan Gonzalez, he stayed out last time by, got passed almost immediately on the first lap, and ended up 2 laps down with a pit stop. And considering the time of their pit, I imagine Elliott Henderson can't make it to the end of the race on fuel.
Yeah, Elliott Henderson, like I said, I was thinking that William Barbagelata was a single lap down, so that's my mistake. But even if he wasn't a single lap down, he's keeping 5 more guys a lap down, and that's 5 more spots in case if Henderson has a problem, hits a wall or something. Right now, there's only 8 guys on the lead lap. So if he goes if this strategy doesn't work out and he gets a caution in like 10 laps, he's fine. He's still in the top 8. He's still right there in the thick of things. But if there were those 5 guys that gotten past, he would fall back possibly to 13th place. a lot more spots. I think that's the idea here for Elliott Henderson.
I believe that has to be too. I mean, if a caution does come out in, like you said, about 10 laps or so, this could be ideal for him as the other guys might not want to pit as they could be running out of tires. I would need to look back at some of the pit stops, but if he's on newer tires with this few cars on the lead lap and a caution comes out, this could be ideal for Elliott Henderson to win this race, but he needs a caution. And those are not something that is guaranteed to happen usually.
We are at Darlington though, so your chances are a lot more likely than at most places.
Well, that is true. I mean, we've seen throughout the race tonight, we've had quite a few cautions. A lot of times cautions will happen back to back, but I, hey, if this works out for him, I give him all the credit in the world. This could be the greatest strategy of all time for all I know.
We're gonna get the green flag this time by. You saw Henderson has picked the inside lane, which will force Tyrell Baker up high. Nice Wonger's right behind him in third. Matthew Durz in fourth. Jake Miller and Brandon Barkuski are in that third row as the Mustang pulls down pit road, and Henderson will lead him to the green flag. And Nice Wonger was way ready. He was more ready than Henderson, it looked like. It looked like he went before Henderson even went, to be honest.
Well, this could be perfect as he could possibly get around Tyrell Baker if he plays cards right. Oh! He got extremely loose, almost got into him there.
He's still loose.
Matthew Durr's going to get around him now. See if Jake Miller makes the move. He pulls
Miller
up to the inside.
Wow. That was scary. I thought Nicewanger was going to lose it twice. He saves it and he falls back to the fourth position. Oh, there's a caution out on the speedway.
Oh my God.
Cautions breed cautions. And it looks like there's a wrecked car coming out. There looked like there might have been a wrecked car down the back stretch as I did see some smoke. Quickly went to pit road. It looked like it was Brandon Kaufman in the number 74.
Oh, I'm going back to the incident. Seems like a few more cars than I expected were involved. They were 4 wide on the front straight as I'm watching my own personal replay. Oh my.
Big hit, it looked like for Sensi. This is actually not the yellow right here. There's an incident on the restart that we didn't catch that a caution didn't come out for. You see right here, 4 wide battle. Looks like Lawson and Madalinas get into it. And a hard hit into the wall for Sensi. I don't know how this didn't bring out a caution. iRacing. Who got Dale Jr.'s personal information? Who got it? I need to send him an email. You see Brandon Kaufman right here in the number 74. Just flat out, looks like he just flat out loses it out of 2 and tries to save it and just spins himself back onto the racetrack. And that's what your caution's out for. Him spinning back onto the racing surface. The number 74, Brandon Kaufman. As cautions have been probably the big discussion of today, as we've had a decent amount of them. And we honestly should have had more, but a lot of accidents have came off of the racing surface. And here at Darlington, it has one of the most smallest racing surfaces. Above that white dashed line, that's your racing surface. Everything below it really isn't a racing surface. You can't really race down there.
You can try, but it's not going to work, I assure you. But you know what this caution does for a driver we were just talking about, questioning the strategy, is Elliott Henderson. He's going to pit in, and he's going to be in 7th position on this restart because of how many cars he trapped the lap down.
Yeah, I just think that was an ideal move. It's not going to give them that much of fresher tires, maybe like a lap or 2 fresher tires. It's not really a big difference, but the fact that they pit offset, like Tyrell Baker and that group came in, and then Elliott Henderson came into the next group, it kept all those guys a lap down. So Aiden DuPont on back, they're still a lap down. You only have 9 guys on the lead lap, as I'm pretty sure Jordan Gonzalez was your lucky dog on that on this caution.
Jordan Gonzalez pulling the bold strategy early in the race, and now he's back on the lead lap. One of the few cars on the lead lap. So he'll be looking to gain some positions at the end of this race without any threat from behind. But the person that we're going to be watching primarily for this restart is going to be Elliott Henderson, as he's going to be on the newest tires on the most interesting strategy following this caution. And he's only going to be in 7th place. 6th place, I believe, because of Daniel Nanny, it looks.
Yeah, it's looking like he's going to be in the 6th spot. Elliott Henderson, Daniel Nanny, and Gavin Fitzgerald all came down pit road under this caution. Jordan Gonzalez will end up restarting in the 9th spot as he's your lucky dog. So those top 5 guys have A couple lap older tires, not really much of a difference. I think after maybe 1 or 2 laps, the difference will already go away as Tyrell Baker, Matthew Durr, Jake Miller, Shane Nicewanger, and Brandon Burkuski only have around 1 or 2 green flag laps on these tires.
Well, I would actually say that Elliott Henderson starting in 6th position is even better than him starting in 7th. Normally, you would say, oh, the inside line, that's where I want to be at most of these restarts. But this is one of the few tracks where I'd say the outside lane is better. Here, Bristol, I would say are two of the best racetracks to start on the outside, as you could keep up your momentum without having to check up as guys are side by side. So he could gain quite a few positions on this restart as long as nothing happens in front of him and he plays his cards right.
Think that's asking a lot there, Alex.
Well, we've seen how the race has gone tonight, so if I eat my words, I eat my words, but I'd say he's in a pretty decent spot.
He's either in the best spot in the house or the worst spot in the house, because if they wreck underneath him, he's dead. He's literally dead. Mr. Bobby Carter himself.
All right, let's not talk about death here. Kids are watching.
Okay. The Mustang's gonna pull down pit road this time by the pace car. Is gonna pull off the track coming out of turn 4, and Tyrell Baker has picked the inside lane. He will lead you down to your restart. Matthew Durr is on his high side. Right behind him is Jake Miller and Shane Nicewanger. Pace car is off, and the green flag is out, possibly for the last time, as we have around 45 laps to go. 35 laps to go. My mistake. Around 35 laps to go here at Darlington.
Elliott Henderson pulling off some big moves going into turn 1. He was in the train following, but he said no, he wants to go somewhere. He's going to try to pull up inside Shane Nicewanger. He can't do it. I'm surprised.
Number 36.
Yeah, we hear Hunter Mandolinas in the back says he could pitting. Let's hope that doesn't cause any incidents here. But Elliott Henderson's now up to 5th position. He gained a spot on that restart as Brandon Burkuski didn't have the greatest of restarts. Him and Daniel Nanny side by side, in a line heading as Tyler Baker leads the field. Jake Miller in 2nd, who has had a great recovery drive following his incidents on pit road, and now he's going to try and look for the lead.
I would definitely be nervous if I were Tyrell Baker. You have the Season 4 champion, and right before I said that, Jake Miller went over the radio talking crap about his sponsor, Bisquick. So this should get really interesting, Alex.
And while you were talking, Daniel Nanny just got around Elliott Henderson for position. So now he's going to be the first car on the newest tires, and he was leading the race earlier on. So is he the threat to win the race now? If this
so many
goes
late
green?
storylines. Here comes Miller. Miller's diving into turn 3. Here he comes underneath the 025 of Tyrell Baker. He tries to pull the slide job. He puts him in the wall. He puts the 025 in the wall. Tyrell Baker's going to lose a lot of spots because of that. Oh, man, the aggression from the number 4 of Jake Miller. And Tyrell Baker now he's falling like a rock. As he's in the wall again in turns 1 and 2, as he must be aggravated. I would be aggravated if I was the Bisquick driver right about now.
That is the worst case scenario. You can't blame him for trying to race for the position, but he did also kind of put himself in an awkward spot. I mean, he was on the right side quarter panel on the outside, and when the car's on the inside, he's going to get tight, and that was kind of bound to happen. But he's trying to race for the lead, and now it's cost him.
Remember what I said earlier, Alex, how it's easy to pass into 3 and 4, but once we get later in this race, it's not going to be so easy. That was one of those moments because Jake Miller looked like he was about to make it look easy, and Tyrell Baker was not going to give up the spot that easy, as he looked like he just left the race, actually.
Yep,
number 025.
Yep, Tyler Baker has just slammed the outside walls, we're hearing, and just alt-F forward and left the server. He's not going to cause any more chaos in this race. He's had enough. It's a shame for what happened after a great day for that driver, but he's going to sadly finish this race 30 laps down.
Wow, you really hate to see it because Tyrell Baker, he had one of the quickest cars all day, definitely had a top 5 truck. I don't know if he was quicker than Jake Miller or Daniel Nanny or maybe even Elliott Henderson, but he definitely had a top 5 truck here tonight, and you hate to see him leave early after having troubles those last few laps, but we continue on as Jake Miller is your race leader. Now we only have 8 guys on the lead lap after that. So Jordan Gonzalez has moved up to the 8th spot. It was your lucky dog on that last restart. Looking at Matthew Durr in the second spot, who's looking to have a good run here today. Looking really strong all day in that number 41 machine as he started in the 8th position.
And Matthew Durr is a gambling man tonight. He had the luckiest turn of events in the entire night, having the caution come out at perfectly the right time, trapping most of the other guys a lap down right after they pit, and him getting not only track position, but even newer tires, and he's taken full advantage of that in the second position.
And the battle has really began for that lucky dog position. Look like we have a battle and coming on for that lucky dog position. Nick Hansen currently is in that lucky dog position. Aiden DuPont is looking to get it. You see the 62 right there. Aiden DuPont's a little farther back, around a half straightaway back on him. Nick Hansen's had his issues tonight though, so I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe gets up into the wall and DuPont can get back up to him. Hansen also has had a lot of speed, so it's interesting to see if maybe he can get a break and get that caution so he can get the lucky dog and put himself in an opportunity to possibly even win this race late.
Well, a big battle on the racetrack right now is between Daniel Lanny and Elliott Henderson. They're both trying to scrap it out for what is going to be the first car and the newest tires. It doesn't seem to be working out a lot for them, though, as they really have not gained a lot of time on these leaders. They've kind of just been stuck around that 2.5 mark. As Jake Miller, once he took the lead, he's just gapped the field.
Yeah, Jake Miller has not looked back ever since he took the race lead from Tyrell Baker. He's been driving away the number 4 machine. As Elliott Henderson, and Daniel Nanny, like I said, they have like, maybe I'd probably say 1 to 2 laps fresher tires than these guys. Oh, Nanny's up in the wall. The number 30's up in the wall hard. Good recovery from Daniel Nanny coming off the corner, able to stay right there with Elliott, but that was a close call for him.
Well, I was gonna mention that earlier in the race when Jake Miller was leading and Daniel Nanny was in second, Daniel Nanny had the better long run pace as Jake Miller seemed to fall off a bit at the end of the run, and we see again Jake Miller pulling out a gap somewhat earlier in the run. We'll see if it bites him later in the run, but now that Daniel Nanny's in the wall, this could affect his long run pace.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that damage could affect him. And if we end up going green the rest of this way, we're definitely gonna if we end up going green the rest of the way, we're definitely gonna have to face some lap traffic before this race is over, because Jake Miller is only around a straightaway behind a group of lap cars, around a group of 3 lap cars, and then they're around a half a straightaway to a straightaway behind a bigger group of lap cars. So if we go green the rest of the way, this could get interesting with lap traffic. As you see, he's going to face his first lap car of James Shiflett. James Shiflett moves to the inside for Jake Miller. Jake Miller has your race lead by almost a second over Matthew Durr. We're going to check the speeds at the line and see who's the quickest out of our top 5 guys right now. Jake Miller comes across the line with a 35. And then Matthew Durr is around 200ths quicker that last time by. So it'd be very interesting to see if maybe he can cut down that pace, as those two are the quickest up there right now. Nanny running a little bit quicker, but he needs to get up there and get past Nicewanger.
Well, him and Elliott Henderson ran almost the same lap times, but it's almost the same lap times as Matthew and Jake Miller. They're not really running much faster lap times than those 2 leaders, and being behind Chase Nicewanger, who's been running about a 10th slower than the rest of them, probably isn't helping either.
Yeah, Elliott and Nanny really need to find their way past Nicewanger quick. Because here comes Elliott. He's right on Nicewanger's bumper coming out of turn 2 right now. He needs to make a pass quick on him if he wants any shot at to get this win.
Well, don't make it sound so simple, Kyle. I mean, like we've seen so many times throughout the race, is that some guy will pull up on your bumper and then you just can't seem to get around him. Or if you do try and get around him, you got to either put him in the wall or just throw a huge slide job on him. So even if Elliott Henderson is that much quicker than Shane Nicewanger, it's probably going to be extremely difficult to get by him, barring a mistake from Nicewanger.
You see, I like the Jake Miller way of passing. Just send it in there, get him a little bit in the door, rough him up a little bit. That's the way to pass, honestly, at Darlington. That's how they used to do it back in the day. That was the way to pass. You had to rough a guy up a little bit to get by him. It there wasn't any such thing as a clean pass, really. There was at least a little bit of contact. As you see Henderson try to send it into on Nicewanger, but Nicewanger immediately cuts off the lane and forces Elliott to back off.
Oh, he had a bit of a run there. As Nicewanger checked up a lot coming off the corner. That's going to give Daniel Nanny a bit of a run. He's not going to do anything with it. Probably didn't want to put himself in a bad spot, but it seems like Nicewanger has fallen off harder and harder later in this run as Elliott Henderson just puts more and more pressure on his bumper. He's been getting pretty good runs coming off turn 4, but that's not really a spot going into turn 1 to pass. Is the way you take the lines, you run low, swing up wide, and run low again. It's pretty hard to run side by side through that corner.
Elliott needs to get past him right now because last time he ran 6/10 slower than Jake Miller, and Nanny ran 3/10 quicker than him. And look at Brandon Barkowski. He's all of a sudden just here. He was around a straightaway back not too long ago. So Nicewanger is slowing these guys down a lot right now. So Henderson needs to find a way past him. He might need to use that nose.
Well, after Nicewanger made the mistake coming off turn 2 the couple laps ago, it really lost him a lot of pace.
There. I thought he was going to get him in the bumper that time.
Yeah, he's getting really good runs on him, but he just can't seem to get around him. And it's going to bring people like Barkowski, who had fallen off a lot on the initial restart, back into the battle. He is one of the ones that had really, really good long run pace, arguably some of the best of the field. And it could net him positions here at the end of the race if these two guys keep struggling, trying to get around each other. As Elliott Henderson just drives by him, I think Nicewanger just let him by.
Yeah, I think Nicewanger decided to let him by right there. Henderson gets past the number 49, possibly some communications between Henderson and Nicewanger right there. Henderson able to get by with ease that time, as now Daniel Nanny is the one stuck behind Nicewanger. But before, I think it was 3 laps ago, maybe 4 laps ago, Elliott Henderson was only 1.8 seconds behind your race leader, Jake Miller. But because of being held up by Nicewanger, he's now around almost 3.5 seconds behind Jake Miller. So now I don't really see anybody catching Miller unless we get a caution, because this gap is just way too big at this point now, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, it's really becoming an issue now. Now, don't say never, because we do still have 14 laps to go in this race, and it is Darlington. A lot can happen. One big slide from one of these drivers, and it could totally shift the outcome of this race.
Hey, Jake Miller is just sitting pretty right now up front, just hoping that there's no cautions. If he doesn't get any cautions, he's, like I said, he's sitting pretty. He's running the quickest laps on the racetrack. He has the lead by 2 seconds over Matthew Durr and 3 seconds over Elliott Henderson. The Season 4 champion is looking to become that. Looking to become the Season 4 champion. Looking to get his 2nd win of the season here today at Darlington.
I mean, I've got to give credit right here to Matthew Durr. He really wasn't in the battle early in the race, and we didn't really look at him much, but coming late in this race after that lucky break with the caution, he's been running really solid lap times, almost the same as Jake Miller lap to lap, maybe slightly slower as the gap widens, but he's easily pulling away from Elliott Henderson.
Yeah, Matthew Durr, he's been pretty strong all day. He's been running in the top 10 most of the day, but him staying out on that caution really gave him the track position that he has right now, and he's been able to hang on to it. He lost the lead, but he's fallen back to the 2nd spot, and he's hung on to it ever since. As these 3 guys are running pretty similar lap times right now. Henderson ran the quickest out of the 3. These 3 guys are almost 3/10 quicker than 4th on back, so they're kind of in their own zip code right now.
Yeah, it said the gap wasn't closing, but the last couple laps, Elliott Henderson ran the fastest lap of those 3 by 1/10 each time. I don't know if the tires are coming around. We'll see this time by, as we see Matthew Durr had run a 31.3, and Henderson ran the 31.3. Matthew Durr ran a 31.3 again, but Jake Miller ran a 31.2.
Yeah, Miller's still out there running very quick laps. He has the lead by almost 2.5 seconds right now over Matthew Durr, coming to 10 laps to go this time by. Can Jake Miller make it 2 in a row? The last time the Great Lakes Truck Series was at Darlington, Jake Miller was your winner, and he's looking to do it again, make it 2 for 2 in the Great Lakes Truck Series, the number 4 truck. You're looking at Elliott Henderson in the number 36 right there. Can he make up some ground on those somewhat fresher tires? Can he get a caution? Maybe get himself up to that 2nd spot. Sounds like we also, during that instance that James Shiflett had himself a little bit of an incident and went to pit road. There was no caution on the speedway. We continue green as we have 9 laps to go now. Jake Miller has taken 9 laps to go. Matthew Durr is in second. Elliott Henderson is in third. Brandon Barkuski's in fourth. And Shane Neiswanger routes out your top 5 right now.
Well, you were talking about barring a caution. I mean, Jake Miller should win this race. Well, we almost had one with Daniel Nanny about 4 laps ago. Going through turns 1 and 2, suddenly you notice he's not with the battle of Neiswanger and Barkuski. He had gotten into the wall, spun around, and almost came back onto the racetrack to bring out a caution. Not this time, however.
You hate to see it for Daniel Nanny, because without those 2 incidents, that one that just happened and the one that came off of pit road, he might be the one in Jake Miller's seat right now. He might be the one getting the checkered flag tonight. But it might be a little bit too late for Daniel Nanny unless he can get a caution here, as you only have a few laps left here at Darlington, and Jake Miller looking to make it 2 in a row in the Great Lakes Truck Series presented by Paddy Engineering.
Well, we could have a different interview here in a minute, as Barkuski's run down Elliott Henderson a ton. He's been running multiple tenths a lap faster than him.
You were mentioning this. Brandon Barkuski really comes on late on these runs. He really just saves some speed for the very end of this run. And even if he can't get in by a win, if he gets enough points, the way this season's kind of been for some guys, he can really leapfrog some guys and at least put himself in some sort of points contention. Do I think he's going to make it by points? No, he's going to need a win, I'm thinking. But this can definitely be a confidence boost for him if he can get up to the top 3, and if he can get a caution, he's right there in 3rd position. So that means on that restart, he most likely will end up being second, as that second guy on the inside row has usually passed the guy in the front row on the outside going into 1.
That's true. I've been surprised to see that all night. Typically, the outside lane is the one that gets position on the one on the inside, but tonight it's just seemed different. I'm not sure it's because of the night racetrack, as Barkuski pulls the move on the inside of Elliott Henderson. He's going to try and gain the position going through turns 1 and 2. Elliott Henderson's just going to let him by. This late in the race, he's going to let him by?
Brandon Barkuski going to take the spot. Elliott Henderson looking to get a good finish for that 36, but he knows he's not fighting for points. Brandon Barkuski was one of the drivers of the 36 truck, but now that he's going full time, he has to have his own number. His number is 42. Brandon Barkuski gets a little in the wall, but he continues on. So I'm thinking that Elliott Henderson just kind of let him by there so Brandon Barkuski can max out his points for today, as he's up to the 3rd spot now.
I believe for this race tonight, they should be teammates, as I believe they're both associated with 2511 Racing. So that could be a bit of a team move as well, to try and give Barkuski a bit more points to maybe by chance make it in on points. There are still quite a few races, a lot of wild card races, and it could allow Barkuski to point himself in. There is still quite a bit to go. And while we are looking for him to get a win, I mean, if he pulls off performances like this week by week, he could find his way into the playoffs on points.
Like you said, Alex, week by week, there's a lot of wild cards still on the schedule. So I personally, if I were Barkuski, I wouldn't count on that. He needs to go out there and get a win for himself to get into the playoffs. But if he doesn't get a caution on this next lap, I don't think it's going to be today, as Jake Miller is about to take 2 laps, to come to 2 laps to go here at Darlington, looking to win the Too Tough to Tame 200 here in the Great Lakes Truck Series. 2 laps to go for the number 4 Toyota.
Don't close out the battle yet. Barkuski is running down Matthew Durr a lot, lap by lap. I mean, last time by, he caught him by 4 tenths, and he's less than a second back now. With 1 to go, he might just barely catch him, and it might be interesting to see what happens here on the last lap. He's been really fast at the end of this race.
Jake Miller takes the white flag. This race is now official. This will be the final lap here at Darlington. Could Jake Miller make it around one more time? Can Brandon Barkuski get to Matthew Durr for second? 1 lap to go here in Darlington. You're watching Brandon Barkuski. He's trying to drive down Matthew Durr, but it looks like Matthew Durr might have saved something for the very end of this run, as he's holding that gap right now between himself and Barkuski. As you see, Jake Miller, he won last week, and he's looking to get 2 in a row. Jake Miller comes off turn 4, and he wins the Too Tough to Tame 200 at Darlington. And Matthew Durr will hold on to 2nd place. 3rd place is Brandon Barkuski. 4th, Elliott Henderson. Here comes Nicewanger in the 5th spot. What a race. And there you see Daniel Nanny. You hate to see it. Daniel Nanny comes home in the 6th spot. Gonzalez going to look like he's going to come home in the 7th spot. And Gavin Fitzgerald, he's going to round out our lead lap cars in that 8th spot. It's looking like the number 14 truck of Gavin Fitzgerald, our partner at Split Second Broadcasting, gets that 8th spot, last guy on the lead lap. As Jake Miller is going to hold around and burn the house down here at Darlington. He has won the Lady in Black's heart tonight. What a race, Alex.
That was a fantastic race. I am in shock. What just happened, Kyle? Today's race, it may have had quite a few cautions, but those cautions came at the right time to create some insane drama for this race. I mean, look at the lineup. 8 cars on the lead lap at the end of this race. You just don't see that.
Yeah, you just don't. And it all came down to that strategy that Matthew Durr pulled, and that got him that 2nd spot. You saw Barkuski late charging. If maybe he had a few more laps, he could have gotten past Matthew Durr, but his strategy staying out and keeping all those guys on a lap down really put him in the position where he ended up finishing and putting only 8 guys finishing on the lead lap today as Jake Miller continues to burn the house down. I don't know if the guys want to save that engine for next time they come over here, but it looks like Jake Miller doesn't much care as he's just burning this house down. He's still burning it down. Oh my gosh. And he's in the wall. A little in the wall there. And he continues his donuts down the front stretch. We're going to try to get you interviews from our top 3 guys here in the upcoming moments, but I'm going to give you a top 10 rundown. You see Jake Miller. Oh, wow. What a burnout. What a burnout. Oh, he's still going. And he turns it around. Jake Miller wins 2 in a row. His 2nd win on the season. He came out on top. Matthew Durr came home 2nd. Brandon Barkuski got on the podium in his first full-time race of the season. Elliott Henderson comes home 4th. Shane Nicewanger 5th. Daniel Nanny comes home 6th. Jordan Gonzalez comes home 7th. Gavin Fitzgerald 8th. And then rounding out your top 10, you had Nick Hansen in 9th and Kyle Nogel, who both finished 1 lap down in the number 62 and the number 59 in 9th and 10th place. And how about William Barbagelata able to come home 12th? What a performance from him. That has to be worth mention right there. He started this race 3 laps down and he came home 12th. What a race from him.
Barbagelata definitely had quite the night tonight.
But Alex, I think you ran down to pit road while I was talking there, and I think you're going to try to maybe get us an interview with our 3rd place guy.
Yeah, let's bring in what was a interesting run at the end of the race. We got Brandon Barkuski. Brandon Barkuski, you managed to pull off a 3rd place finish right at the end of this race. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, I feel like I finished right where I probably should have. Honestly, early there in the beginning, just tough luck, nobody's fault. Had to check up for I think it was Ashton and Elliott, and just got ran over a little bit, but luckily no damage. And long runs, we had it 3 and 4. We were making up a lot of time. I think the big issue for us tonight was just track position, but we fought really hard on the long runs to be able to pass, and I think that really was the difference. I don't know if I would have had enough for Jake, but I think I could have, given a couple laps there. I think I would have gotten by Matty Durr, who had a heck of a race. Never seen that guy drive like a dog like that. He had a great race for sure.
Yeah, Matthew Durr definitely pulled off the call of the night there. But let's talk a little bit about you. We'll talk about him when we get to him. Let's talk about you. I would say you had the best long run pace of anybody in the field tonight. So tell us how you do it.
Yeah, I just had a couple guys asking me, Elliott and Jake, what I was doing. They swore I was downshifting in 3 and 4. Was not. The thing I figured out was if you back it up a lot, so before you even get into the brakes, there's they got the white and red markers. There was kind of 1 or 2 of them where I would always kind of lift, let it coast even before turning into 3 and 4, kind of like give the brake a couple pumps. And if you just let it roll to center, and honestly, what I started doing was turning it down almost like a diamond mid corner. It just, I mean, pardon my French, it was just getting a hell of a run off the corner every single time. And, I mean, it seemed to be working. And Elliott was like, man, where'd he come from? He had to give me the spot in turn one. I didn't even think I was going to be able to catch up to him that lap. So, whatever I was doing just with that, just backing up the corner really helped. Three and four seemed to be really tight.
At 3 and 4 seemed to be a bit of a trouble spot for our single cars tonight, but you were running down Matthew Durr really hard at the end of the race with that long run pace. And was there a little bit more you could have done to get it?
Yeah, I think I hit the wall right after I got by Elliott. That might have hurt me a little bit. Even with that, though, it's one thing to catch him, one thing to pass him. So maybe I might have had to get a little bit aggressive with him. And Matt's a really good guy. I don't know if Matt's the guy I'd want to do that with. If it was Jake Miller, I'd put him in the wall for sure. Love messing with Jake, but I don't know if I would have done that to Matty Dare. He's too good of a guy.
Well, we got respect with the drivers tonight. Everybody seems to respect each other. At least we hope. We did have a bit of action tonight and a bit of chaos, but we got to ask the question, Brandon. You got anybody to thank?
Yeah, Chris especially. I talked to Chris this morning and told him that I wanted to take a risk, and obviously I've missed about half of pretty much all of the races. This is the first race I'm counted for points, but this morning I decided that I'm going to try to run for this title. So we have a lot of work to do. We have obviously a good points run tonight, but it looks like we're going to have to win to get in. So thanks to Chris for letting me do that, and thanks to Jordan and Matt Daniels. These are going to be guys we're going to be working with. Jordan had a heck of a run tonight, rebounded with a 7th place finish. We're going to start figuring things out here on our truck side because 2511's got some good talent in these truck series, and we're not going to let it go to waste. We're just going to turn around the bad luck they've been getting into wrecks. So both those guys going forward, we're gonna turn it around for sure.
Well, you just made me think. For all our Barkowski fans out there, what do you think is the track that you can win at this year?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't think we would run well tonight. Came home third, so I guess anything's on the table. I feel like Texas is a decent track for myself. I've experienced there in the truck a decent amount. Um, I'm not really too sure past that. I'm also going to miss New Hampshire, so I'm going to have to take a provisional there. So things are going to be really interesting. We're going to have to really just show up every week and try to put ourselves in positions to win races. That's all we're going to have to do here and grind.
All right. Well, we'll be watching out for that and seeing if you could pull off that victory. Thank you for coming in and good job.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right. Let's drag in our second place finisher here, which is probably the most interesting story of the night. We had Matthew Durr pulling off the strategy of the night, the call of the night, pulling out to the lead after that caution that so conveniently came out, and you still finished second with strong pace at the end of the race. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, when Shane pit before that caution came out, I was considering pitting with him, but I decided to stay out just in case. You never know with this type of track with fresh tires and all that. And I think Daniel spun out and stopped on track, which that caution really, really helped me. I think I ran out of fuel coming onto pit road, but yeah, I was just trying to keep it clean all day. I know I've had some bad luck all season, so I just wanted to get a clean race in.
Yeah, you've had some relatively bad luck this year, but it seems like all that bad luck, pretty much the world said, you know what? He's paid enough. We'll give him the best luck in the world. What was the emotions going through when that caution came out?
I was very happy. I didn't actually know at that time that it was Daniel that came out, so it was kind of mixed emotions. I was happy that the caution came out so I could stay up front, but I was also kind of upset that the caution was eventually my teammate Daniel. Um, but yeah, it's just I really don't know. I really didn't expect this. Just kind of run mid-pack the whole race and then that strategy call. So just very happy for that.
Yeah, well, you say you ran mid-pack, but you had front pace at the end of the race. You seemed to figure it out late there. What was it that changed?
I think I just need to get up front. With all those guys, with all that dirty air, I just didn't really feel like I could drive well. But um, I feel like once I got up front, I could just run my own pace and just kind of get away from those guys ahead of me.
All right. Well, obviously Jake Miller had won the race, and you finished 3.9 seconds back. Now, I've got to ask, was there something you think you could have changed inside the car to try and catch him?
I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, I kind of pushed it a little hard at the beginning of that run, just trying to pass him, and I was just kind of hoping that he and TCB took each other out, but that didn't really turn out the way I hoped. But I don't think I really could have done anything different. Jake Miller is one hell of a driver. Obviously, he won last week, but just second place is good for the points.
Yeah, you may not have won the race, but tonight was your night, and we got to ask, who do you got to thank for that?
I just gotta thank mom and dad. They've given me the chance to do this. I also gotta thank Defiance for putting me on their team and putting their faith in me to try to drive well for them. And yeah, just kind of speechless with the second and swept the finishes away.
All right. Well, congratulations, Matthew Deere. You had a great race. You had a lucky race, but you had a great one following that, and you kept it there. So good job. Congratulations, and thank you for coming in.
Yep, thank you guys.
All right, let's round out the night with a mixed bag, but still came out with the great finish, the trophy at the end. Jake Miller, tell us about your race.
Very up and down. Started on the pole, led the first couple of laps to that first pit stop, and then we sped down pit road like we were being stupid, and it was an uphill battle from there, but we did it.
Yeah, you definitely did it all right. I mean, you came from the back of the pack pretty quickly up towards the top 10, eventually up to the top 5, and you were running faster than most of the leaders. And I want to ask you, how do you pass people?
You shove them out of the way. That's about the only way you can pass at Darlington. You just got to be super aggressive and hope that people respect it. They know you're the faster truck, I guess.
Well, that was Kyle's way of passing he told us about during the broadcast. We saw that happen with Tyrell Baker as you tried to pass him for the lead and kind of got him into the wall there and kind of ended his night. But either way, not only did you pass everybody, but you pulled out a huge gap at the end of the race. Tell us what you had to do in the car to do that.
Well, first of all, I want to apologize to TCB because I did not mean to do that, but had to get it done, and I feel like that's just hard racing. But the truck just drove really good through 1 and 2, and I don't feel like I was the fastest in 3 and 4. Brandon Barkuski definitely had 3 and 4 figured out, but it just truck was dialed in, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's not like I practiced this week or anything, but it's 2 seasons in a row with a Darlington win, so I guess I got it figured out.
Yeah, this is 2 wins in a row for you. Last week at Richmond, this week at Darlington. Tell us what it's like to win twice in a row like that and beat the field.
I'm starting to feel like Elliott Henderson. Just kidding. I got to get the 6 for that. But it seems like every time I've gotten a win, they keep coming for like they just the good luck's here, I think. I think the bad luck's going to wash away here, I hope. But I'm probably going to get bad karma for that.
Well, you definitely have jubilations over the radio during every single race, and let's hope good luck keeps you in good spirits over that radio, and it's not something bad you say over it. So, who do you got to thank for this?
Uh, Obviously, my Uncle Ron, and then my girlfriend is actually here this week, so she wants her TV time. So uh, let me get her on the mic.
Hey guys, missed my TV time last week, so I'm here this week.
Yep.
Well, she must be glad you won again so that she can talk as the winner.
Yeah, she gets real excited, and by that I mean she sits there and watches Netflix and probably doesn't care if I won or not.
Well, I believe she truly does love you on the inside. So good job, Jake Miller. You had a great run tonight, and good job on the win.
Thank you. See you next Tuesday.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had a fantastic night here at Darlington Raceway, a very interesting race. And Kyle, let's close out the show.
Let's close out the show. Going to give another top 10 rundown real quick. Jake Miller is your winner. Matthew Durr comes home second. Barkuski third. Henderson in fourth. Neiswanger came home fifth. Daniel Nanny able to recover for sixth. Gonzalez comes home seventh. Gavin Fitzgerald's eighth. Nick Hansen and Kyle Noble both one lap down in ninth and 10th. And now we enter Circuit of the Americas week. It's COTA week as the trucks head to COTA, the Circuit of the Americas, for 30 laps next Tuesday as we approach closer to that playoff window. And then on Thursday, it's also COTA, but with the Cup Series, also 30 laps. So tune in for that as well if you're able to. And there you see the schedule for the Cup Series on your screen. There's only a couple more races over there. They're at the same time as our truck races, but they're on Thursday nights. And that should be a lot of fun there. Any last thoughts on the race, Alex?
My last thoughts are this is going to be a hard race to top. This was a great race from start to finish. We had quite a few cautions that came out at a great time to make some good action, good drama, and ended up having great stories throughout the field and a lot to watch. So we'll be hoping next week is just as good. But ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that were here, you must have enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, great race. A lot of storylines, a lot of drama, and a lot of wrecked race cars, but also a lot of smoke down on the front stretch as Jake Miller is your winner. Once again, congratulations to Jake Miller on the Too Tough to Tame 200. And thanks to y'all for tuning in, and good night. And we will see you either Thursday for the Cup Series or next Tuesday for the trucks. We can see if Jake Miller may continue his streak at the road course. Good night, y'all. And once again, thanks for tuning in.